All right, hello everyone. Welcome. Thanks so much for coming tonight. Really appreciate y'all being here. Um, and we are excited to share some experiences from our alumna and alumna parents tonight. Um, so thanks for introducing yourself in the chat. It's great to see who's here. And we'll just go ahead and get started. Um, can oops, of course I'm getting the wheel. There we go. Okay, can I get a thumbs up from people if you can see the agenda screen just to make sure? Awesome. Okay, great. Yeah. Okay, so tonight we'll introduce ourselves and then I'm gonna hand it over to the alumna and to alumna parents. So we have Jane Beeler, Danelle, Bronwyn, and Kim and Robin. I'm sorry, Robin. I should have put Kim and Robin. And then we'll basically open it up to questions. So if questions are coming up for you throughout this, pop them into the chat and we can either answer them as we go or we may hold them till the end. At the end, we'll have a specific time where we say, do you have any questions? So either way is totally fine. And I'm going to keep this to 45 minutes. I know that time is precious and there's only so long you can stare at a Zoom screen. And I am super available for any follow-up conversations. I can connect you with alumna. I can connect you with other parents for any kind of follow-up information or follow-up questions. All right, so hi. I am Mary Reed Munford. I go by Mary Reed. My pronouns are she, her, and I am the admissions coordinator for the traveling school. I am also a former teacher. I taught for a Southern Africa semester about 8 years ago. And I am based in Atlanta, Georgia. And what I love the most about the traveling school is the place-based education. I think that our model applies really well wherever you go. And it just makes so much sense to teach and learn how to intellectually and emotionally process the world, examine, ask questions, and treat the world as a classroom. Drew?
Hi, everyone. My name is Drew Higgins. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the assistant academic dean for the traveling school. I am also a former teacher. I taught on our Western US program in fall of 2021. And my Alaskan Malamute is whining on the floor right now because he's getting to be around his dinner time. So if you hear that, that's my dog. And then oh my gosh, there's so many things I could choose about the traveling school, but I think sort of related to place-based education, like all of the speakers we have and all of like there are artists, there's activists, there's writers, like maybe in a traditional classroom, you might get you might get one or two of those.
Oh, dear.
Maybe you get like one or two of those a semester. At the traveling school, you're getting them like every day, every week. Flash agrees. So yeah, so many things to love. But as a teacher, getting to hear all the speakers is like just an added privilege. So that's what I got.
Awesome. Thanks. And thank you, Flash, for your chiming in. All right. So we also have our featured guests here. Jane, why don't you start?
Hi, yes, my name is Jane. I use she, her pronouns. I was on TTS 34 in Southern Africa in 2019. And I'm currently a student at Georgetown in Washington, D.C., but I'm originally from the Bay Area in California.
Awesome. Thanks. Janelle?
Hi, I'm Janelle Hoskins. I was on the Western US semester this past spring of 22. I use she, they pronouns, and I'm a junior in high school in Vermont.
Awesome. Thanks, Janelle. Bronwyn?
Hello, I'm Bronwyn. I use she, her pronouns. I'm from Madison, Wisconsin. I'm a senior in high school, and I was on the Western US semester this spring.
Awesome. And Kim and Robin?
Hi, I'm Kim. I use she, her, and
I'm Robin, and I use p.m.
We live in Potomac, Maryland. Our daughter Lena traveled in 2013 to South America, and she recently graduated from University of San Diego. I think there was a parent from San Diego here in physics and
Mechanical engineering.
mechanical engineering. Yeah.
Nice. Great. Drew?
Great, yeah. I just wanted to quickly share our mission and vision. So the traveling school, our mission is to amplify female voices through transformative education to ignite positive change. And our vision is strong, compassionate female leaders build an equitable and sustainable global community.
And I think many of you probably know the basics about our school, but I just wanted to start with this. We're all girls. It's 16 students, up to 16 students and 4 teachers. Students are ages 15 to 18. We have 3 semester locations. So we're planning to go to Southern Africa in fall 2023, South America in spring 2024. And our Western US program, we've developed it during COVID, and we're focused on the international relaunch right now, but it is still in our wheelhouse. We've loved it, and we really want to keep it going in some way. So right now that's sort of depending on interest. But we're, it's still a part of our programming. And crucial key part of what we do is basically technology-free experiential learning, using the world as your classroom. So you're learning and processing the places where you are going. So let me hand it off to Jane. Jane, why don't you share a little bit about your experience?
Yeah, so I originally chose TTS actually because of my aunt. She went on both the South Africa and the South America semesters. And she's like 10 years older than me or so. And so my entire childhood, I just remember her talking about it all the time. And so it wasn't even really a choice. I just always knew that I wanted to do it because I had to figure out why she couldn't stop talking about it. And now I understand because I can't stop talking about it. And my sister went on a semester after me. So yeah, so this picture that's on the slide right now is from my semester. It's one of my favorite places that I've ever been to. It's a place called Elephant Sands in Botswana. And we did a project there where we basically sat on this balcony where we're sitting right now, and we watched elephants for 6 hours straight, and we chose a specific thing that we were researching. So I was researching the number of times they would flap their ears to see which elephants were hotter or colder. Anyway, it was the most fun time I've ever had sitting in one place watching one thing for 6 hours because they're elephants and they were right there. While we were at this campsite, there was one night where we went to the bathroom has an outdoor entrance, so we went into the bathroom, and then a mama elephant and her baby came and were drinking out of the water hose right outside of the bathroom, and we couldn't leave until she moved, and she was so mad at us, but her baby was adorable. And so that was terrifying. She did break part of the roof off because she was mad that we were there. But it was so cute. So yeah, that was one of the favorite places I've ever been in my life. And the next one, if you go to the next slide, is my actual favorite place on earth. The last one would be second to this, I'd have to say. This is the Salt Flats, also in Botswana. And basically we drove out on one of these little trucks into the absolute middle of this place where you couldn't see anything because we were miles in. There was nothing around us and it was completely flat. And we slept outside on sleeping bags on the ground. And I woke up in the middle of the night, and me and the person I was sleeping next to were awake for 4 straight hours just looking at the stars, and we made up all of our own constellations. And we saw literally hundreds of shooting stars, and to this day we still both think that we saw a supernova. It was so cool. Literal best moment of my entire life. And I want to return someday. Yeah, and I guess the semester benefited me a lot and kind of helped me um, shape my interests for the future. I'm currently at Georgetown. I'm in the School of Foreign Service. I'm studying science, technology, and international affairs. So I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do before my semester, but after my semester, I knew that whatever I did, it had to be internationally focused. And so I chose my current area of study and the school that I go to now because of this, because I knew that I needed to continue to have an international education. It was something that was really missing when I went back home. I took a world history class, and we spent one day of the entire year studying all of the history, all of the literature, everything that I learned about during my entire semester with TTS. So that really highlighted for me that this needs to be a part of my future education. So I guess that would be my biggest takeaway from my semester. And yeah, that's all I have to say for now.
Thanks, Jane.
Awesome. Janelle, we'd love to hear some reflections from you now.
Yeah, my decision to go to TTS was pretty spontaneous. I know someone who went, I think Drew, I think it was your fall semester. And so I like went to her presentation. I was like, this looks really cool. I've been to Utah, like it looks great. So I kind of just dove straight in, and I ended up leaving like a month after I applied. And I felt I felt a bit like unprepared, and I was like, oh gosh, what am I doing? But now that I'm back, I think is exactly what I needed, because I feel like I don't know, I have such better like speculation on life. I understand myself so much better. Um yeah, I don't know. In this picture, that's like our whole semester, I think. We were canyoneering, which was one of the highlights of the semester for sure. I don't know. It was just a very different activity to experience. I don't know. I've grown up around mountains and trees, and just like being able to walk through these huge canyons, like barely seeing anything, was super crazy. And then I guess kind of like Jane said, I feel like I previous to TTS, I had not learned a ton of indigenous history about the US. Um like other than, oh yeah, Columbus is like a myth. Like that's not really, I don't know. It wasn't much to go off of. And then I went to TTS. So excited for US history. I'm like, guys, I know what's up. And then it's like, it's kind of iffy, and I just want to keep learning what I learned at TTS, because it empowered me so much. So yeah.
Let me see. Is there a story behind this photo, Janelle?
Oh yeah, that was on our first backcountry trip. We were canoeing on the Colorado River in Arizona, Black Canyon, for I think 3 nights. Um, and oh, I think this was our second night, and it was like this great campsite. We all just like slept on our sleeping bags under a canyon. We had just gotten there. The place we were staying ended up having hot springs, so the next morning we like woke up at 6 a.m. There are a few people who stayed behind, but most of us, we like woke up. I had my alarm set, and we like ran to go like hang out in the hot springs. Um, yeah, that picture was taken by someone else in my semester, Beck. They got a lot of like good pictures. And I feel like that kind of just captured like, it was a really good capturing of the moment, because if you look at everyone individually, it's just chaos. Like everyone's doing different things.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, and Bronwyn, why don't you talk a little bit about your experience?
Yeah, so I originally wanted to attend the conserve school, which I believe used to be northern Wisconsin. And so I had heard about it like from, I think an old neighbor of mine had gone there. And so I like was looking into it, and they closed down during COVID. But then I went on to the semester school network, and I was like looking through all these schools. I didn't really know what I was looking for, but then I saw TTS and I was like, so yeah, I'm gonna do that. It was pretty much like right away. I knew that's what I wanted to do because it just looks like an amazing experience and all of the things I loved all together. So yeah, I just kind of knew. And then definitely, oh gosh, there are so many memories and moments that were so amazing. But one of my favorite experiences was definitely after we went on a backpacking trip. We went to the Dene Reservation in Arizona, and we did a service learning project where we restored this woman's garden, and they in turn like taught us about different indigenous teachings of like how to make traditional foods and traditional Dene jewelry. And it was just an amazing experience that I don't think there's like anything else you could really, replace it for. And then one of my biggest benefits or takeaways from the semester was definitely just like before going on the trip, I was just kind of like, I didn't really know what I wanted to do in life, and I didn't know like what I was doing. I was just kind of like, I didn't really know. But coming out of TTS, I just completely had a different outlook on the world and the world around me and the people around me. And I kind of came out knowing like what I want to do with my life and how like I can use my skills and who I am as a person to serve the world around me.
Yeah. Oh, I love this photo.
Yeah. So this photo was on our last backcountry trip. We were pack rafting on the Dearborn River in Montana. And I think it was our last night. And we were on this campfire, and I don't know, yeah, you can just see like in all our faces, we were so happy. And I think that was like just kind of a moment of like soaking up our last bit of time together and just enjoying each other. So, yeah.
Nice. Great. And again, Kim and Robin. Kim and Robin, if y'all can talk a little bit about the parent experience.
Yeah. A friend of us sent a link to TTS, and as soon as I saw it, I knew this would be perfect for our daughter, she was like in her sophomore year of high school, I think.
She just finished her freshman year.
Yeah. And we'd moved cross country, and that transition was hard. So we were looking for something to sort of build on her strengths. And as soon as I saw TTS, I knew this was exactly what she needed to buck her up. And so we wondered, I remember when we called to find out more about it, I remember my biggest question was, okay, lots of women teachers and young women traveling through South America. How do you keep them safe? It was like, how do you make sure they stay safe? Especially because they're like going in these back areas. And I remember the answer was, we have these partners on the ground whom we work with, and they're like experts in their area. and they know exactly what's happening on the ground.
And they're really plugged into, these are people who live there and who are strong, members in their community, and they sort of know the places and the people that they're going to be dealing with really well, and it's nothing gonna, they have enough status in the community that nothing's going to happen to the students of the traveling school, or the teachers for that matter, because they're so integrated with that community. And that was very reassuring, because of course, fathers always worry about their daughters, and
mothers too,
but fathers have a special kind of worry about their daughters. So, and this was very reassuring for me, especially when, and eventually we actually met some of these people and was like, yeah, I see how this works. I can see how this would really, ensure that it's not, it's not like some, some hit or miss thing. It was really solid.
Yeah, so hearing about I remember you call them local guides. That was sort of, I think, our main question. So she was 15, she was on the younger side, and it was a fantastic experience for her. And we were able to join in on the parent trip, which was, and we took her little brother with us. She turned 16 on Machu Picchu. That was where they were going to be that day. And we were able to be there with her. We went to a few other places, and we got to see how the classes worked. We were able to attend the classes and really understand what that place-based education was like, and really see what it was like for them to have, I think Mary Reed said, like a technology, almost technology, well, theirs was pretty much technology free, but deeply, connecting with the local people, the deep questions they asked. I was really impressed with the level of education, and the teachers gave us a chance to meet the teachers. I don't know if you've heard about these teachers, but you've just met two, but there's like a whole group of TTS teachers that are awesome. And I think there might even be a place on the website where you can see them. They all had such amazing, varied, different experiences, and went on to do even more amazing things after they taught. So it was, those teachers had a really big impact, I think. Janelle said something I wanted to say too. Well, it was really foundational difference for Lena. Our daughter, she had been being encouraged by the school to pursue art because she's a good artist, but while with TTS, she reconnected to her earlier passion, which was to do science. And she did. She's doing science. And it was TTS that gave her the
confidence,
the self-confidence. Maybe that was what the word that Janelle used, that the self-confidence to really pursue what her dream was and make it happen.
Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you for sharing. And I wanted to, oops, is it going to skip forward? Okay. I wanted to just open it up now. It was good to kind of hear a little bit of an overview of people's experiences, but if there are any specific questions, feel free to type them in the chat, or you can just unmute yourself and ask. And I think feel free to either direct it at a specific student or parent, or just kind of opening it up to the group is also great. And Joni, thank you. What's the average age that students join? I would say that the bulk of students are juniors when they're in with us on the semester, and there are often, or maybe always, at least a couple of seniors and a couple of 10th graders. Does that seem about right, Drew, to phrase it that way?
Yeah, totally. I think we like having a mix pretty intentionally because it just increases the collaborative learning experience for the group. But so we try to have that mix. Some semesters there's no sophomores, sometimes there's no seniors. We pretty much always have a good chunk of juniors.
Yeah. Thanks. And is the Africa semester always in the fall? It has been for us, and that is our current plan to stick with the semester staying in the fall. And part of that is just like with our partners, when we come back at around the same time every year, it builds this sort of trust and rhythm. So that's part of that. And a little bit of weather too. It gets really rainy in Africa in certain times of the year.
Hi, my name is Kathy. My video is not working. I don't know why, but thank you for hosting this. I had a couple of questions. My daughter is interested in this program and she would be a senior in the fall and would be, the timing is such that she would be applying to colleges and definitely understand it's a tech-free experience. I'm just wondering, my first question is what that could potentially look like for her, knowing, we would know that ahead of time and do all that we could before she went on the experience, but presumably might need to be on a computer to do some work. So just wondering if you've ever dealt with that before. I have two other questions, but I'll start with that.
Yeah, that's a great question. Drew, why don't you, since you've taught a fall semester
totally. And it's a common question we get because we love having seniors. And I had on the semester, I taught 3 seniors who were in that college process. We have a couple seniors on our fall semester right now who are going through that process. And we do have limited access to technology. So we travel with traveling school computers that students can access mostly during an independent study block. And so we do offer a block of time where students can set up an independent study for courses that we might not be able to offer, but they need to take to stay on track in high school. And so often what I recommend is just students who are in the college process that they use that time for writing their college essay, if they have any places they're applying early decision or early action. And we just, as teachers, are mindful of what are those due dates and making sure that we have access to Wi-Fi before those so students can meet those due dates, communicate with college counselors, etc. Another great piece of being at the traveling school is we're really small. The teachers are very involved with students. And so I edited my students' college essays as I was a literature teacher. We're doing that as well for a couple students right now. And you have a lot of great stories and things to build off to write those essays about.
Yeah, and I'll say even in Southern Africa where it's harder to get internet, we figure it out and we have the same approach. It takes a little advanced planning, but we definitely support that process in the ways that we can, and can talk about that more specifically like at the start of the semester. But I think most falls we have a couple of students who are dealing with that, and we're supporting the process in specific ways.
Great, thank you, appreciate it. My other question was about availability of scholarships. Can you talk a little bit about if there's any financial aid and what that looks like?
Yeah, so about around like 40 to 60% of our students receive need-based scholarships. So there's we have a whole section of our website about that, and I can definitely share that as well. It has more specific information, but essentially parents fill out sort of an online, it's kind of like FAFSA, but for high school. It's called FACTS. And you fill that out, and then we follow up with conversations with you. We really try to work with families as much as we can about the financial piece of this, because obviously that's a pretty huge piece and it's a big investment. So essentially you would fill that out, and then we would have a conversation with you and also with your daughter about different everything from the need-based scholarship piece, which essentially we take all that information, we go to our scholarship committee, which is part of the we have board members who are on that committee, and other I think there may be a couple of other people that are not board members, but just interested community members who help us basically divvy out a certain percentage of tuition money goes towards need-based scholarships every semester. And then the other piece is fundraising, which is different for every kid, for every context. We know that something like fundraising just looks different for everybody, but we really heavily encourage our students to do some sort of saving plan or fundraising, or even just, getting a job and putting a percentage of that money towards their tuition. We found that that's like an incredibly powerful way for students to own their education and feel a piece of the investment themselves. I think, Bronwyn, you did a little bit of fundraising, right? Is that right? Yeah. Can you talk about that at all?
Yeah, so I worked both summers before and after, and took part of that money towards my tuition. And I also just made myself a GoFundMe, and my mom put it on her Facebook, and I sent it to everyone I know. And I think it was kind of shocking, like how many people are willing to donate and like help out. And like some of my mom's friends who I don't even know donated. And I was like, thank you, because I didn't know them, but it was very, yeah, it was really cool, I think, to see that like people actually really do care about this kind of thing. And yeah, it was very empowering to, I think, kind of like take a hold of it on my own and kind of work on it on my own. So, yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. And we have like a whole toolkit of resources from different students who've done different strategies and things like that. So we understand that's a smaller piece of the tuition probably than, I understand scholarships are a different side of it, but we like to talk about both of those things.
Great, thank you so much. Last question is about acceptance rate. Can you talk a little bit about how competitive the process is?
Yeah. So one thing that's tricky is that things have been really different in the past 3 years. We have had really different acceptance rates in the past couple of years because of COVID. And I will say that there's often a little bit of a natural thing that happens where in the process of applying, students get to know us better and better, and we get to know them better and better, and it becomes a little bit more of like, is this a good fit? Is this the right fit for your student? I know I've already been emailing with your daughter. But I would say, I mean, Drew, do you have a sense of like percentages? I don't know.
I think I like to describe the traveling school as not competitive admissions, but selective admissions, where frankly, like the kind of applicant who goes through the whole process of filling out our application, talking to their school counselor, going through an interview with us, getting 2 recommendations, and the type of student who finds this program to begin with, they generally are a pretty good fit. And if they're not, then they're not admitted. But I would say that group, by the time they've got there, we're like usually pretty confident from all the information we've gained that they would be a good fit for us. So I would say I don't have good numbers on it, but I'd say it is selective in the sense that we are looking for certain things in a student that they're going to be able to self-manage well on a frankly quite challenging semester, right? That they are inspired and interested in our academic program, et cetera, et cetera.
Thanks, Drew.
That's great. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
I have a question. My daughter, she's a current freshman, so she'd be applying for her sophomore year. And I know that there are some sophomores, but what is the experience like for a sophomore versus a junior, given the fact the majority of the girls would be juniors? Academically, more than anything, I guess.
Janelle, could you speak to that a little bit? You're 10th grade on course, right?
Yeah, I was. There were also 2 other sophomores on my semester, so I was not the only one, which made it feel good. I know that definitely within the first few weeks of the semester, I felt a little behind because everyone else was older than me. They seemed to know a bit more about like what we were learning, but that's pretty normal because they were a grade or two older. And then as for getting along with everyone, it was like fine. Like usually, I don't know, I couldn't really tell that there was an age difference by the end of the semester. I was like, great, we're just our little group.